Okay, so let's talk about an incident that absolutely rocked Brazilian football. It all happened at a professional conference, and it led to some pretty serious accusations of unprofessionalism, a formal apology, and a huge national debate. We're going to explain just how it all went so wrong.
And to really get a sense of the outrage, you just have to look at this quote right here. This wasn't some minor disagreement. A major sports columnist used incredibly strong language to describe what he saw, and that really set the stage for the serious fallout that came next.
So, you're probably wondering what exactly happened here. How did a formal event with one of the most respected coaches in the world, Carlo Ancelotti, just completely devolve into a national embarrassment? Well, let's unpack it. The public condemnation was, to put it lightly, swift and brutal. The media did not pull any punches at all, with one journalist even calling the whole thing a clown show.
So picture this. You're at a professional development forum. You've got esteemed guests, leaders from the industry, and then bam, right in the middle of it all, two veteran coaches say something that just ignites a media firestorm. We are talking about a total breakdown of professional decorum.
To really get why people were so upset, we need to go back to the event itself. So let's set the scene for where and how this all unfolded.
And look, it's really important to remember this was not some casual get-together, This was the second Forum of Football Coaches, an official, formal event designed to elevate the profession, to share ideas, and to learn. And that formal context is exactly what makes what happened next so shocking.
All right, so let's get to know the main players in this drama. First, you've got Carlo Ancelotti, the celebrated Italian coach for Brazil's national team. He's the guest of honor. Then you have Emerson, Leão, and Oswaldo de Oliveira, two veteran Brazilian coaches. And finally, the prominent sports columnist who would basically amplify this incident into a massive national conversation.
And here it is. This is the moment everything went off the rails. With Ancelotti, a foreigner himself, sitting right there as the guest of honor, Leão and Oliveira get up and start questioning the entire idea of hiring foreign coaches in Brazil. I mean, you can just imagine how thick the tension in that room must have been.
This brings us to the first major wave of criticism, and it was all centered on one simple idea, just profound rudeness.
Now, to fully get the sting of the criticism, you've got to understand this Portuguese word, grosseria. It means more than just being impolite. It suggests, a deep lack of social grace, a kind of boorishness that just goes against basic courtesy. This is the word that journalists kept using over and over again.
This quote from the renowned columnist Juca Kfouri just nails the sentiment. He said he didn't just feel anger, he felt secondhand embarrassment. He argued they blew a simple chance to just show a little bit of basic respect to their guest.
José Trajano, he was even more blunt, just straight up calling it a clown show. He points out that these are cabelos brancos, literally white-haired men. These are experienced coaches who absolutely should have known better. For him, it was a simple failure of respect.
Trajano also added this really powerful human detail. He described the look on Ancelotti's face as he was sitting there listening to all this. He didn't need a long explanation. His summary was just, coitado, poor guy. That just paints such a vivid picture of the awkwardness in the room.
But listen, the criticism didn't just stop at rudeness. Things escalated pretty quickly to a much, much more serious accusation, xenophobia.
So the term that started getting thrown around was xenophobia, right? Prejudice against foreigners. And using this word took the whole critique from, say, a breach of etiquette to an accusation of a really deep-seated discriminatory mindset.
And this is where columnist Rodrigo Matos really took the debate to the next level. For him, this wasn't just about bad manners. No, he saw it as a clear expression of a xenophobic attitude, a hostility towards outsiders in Brazilian football.
And here's the bigger connection Matos makes, which is so important. He suggests that this kind of insular, anti-foreigner attitude is precisely why Brazilian coaching credentials often aren't taken seriously in Europe. The whole event became a palhaçada, a complete joke, and he argued it actually damaged their international reputation.
So what happened after this media explosion? Well, let's take a look at the official fallout and the bigger questions this whole incident leaves us with.
The backlash was so intense that the official governing body, the FBTF, basically had to step in. They issued a formal apology directly to Ancelotti and then publicly criticized the two coaches. This official response just goes to show how seriously this was all taken at the highest levels.
So to recap the anatomy of this whole scandal,
It kicked off with some really ill-advised comments, which were then amplified by journalists who framed it as both incredibly rude and xenophobic. That forced an official apology, and ultimately it sparked a much-needed, wider debate about the culture inside Brazilian football.
And all this leaves us with the final, really thought-provoking question. The comments by Leão and Oliveira, however poorly they were delivered, they do touch on a real tension in global sports. I mean, how does a country balance that desire to develop its own local talent with the need to be open to foreign expertise and new ideas? This whole incident in Brazil is just a powerful case study of that exact conflict.